Picture this. Somewhere in the Persian Gulf, the sun bleeds orange across the water. The wind is dying, the waves have gone flat. On the horizon sits the most expensive war machine ever built. 1,100 feet of steel, 90 aircraft, 5,000 sailors. The USS Gerald R. Ford. Price tag, $13.3 billion. Now picture something else. A man in sandals, crouched behind coastal rocks. 50 miles away, the wind tugs at his shirt. His breathing is slow. In his hands is a device. It cost him $499. It is not a weapon, it is an eye. And that eye just found the Ford. He doesn't fire. He doesn't need to. He taps a screen. Inland, a missile crew receives coordinates accurate to the meter. In that moment, $13 billion of American steel becomes something else. When it becomes a paperweight. Welcome to naval warfare in 2026. This is how the smallest eyes on the planet are blinding the largest navy in history. This is the story nobody in Washington wants to tell. The Cathedral of Steel. For 80 years, the United States Navy has worshipped one idea: bigger is better. Bigger ships, bigger budgets, bigger radars. The aircraft carrier became the cathedral of that faith, a floating sermon that said we are untouchable. The Ford is the ultimate expression of that gospel. Stealthier than any carrier before it, its radar cross-section shaped to confuse, its electronic warfare suite built to jam, scramble, deceive. Its electromagnetic catapults can launch a fighter every 20 seconds. Its reactors can run for 25 years without refueling. On paper, it is a miracle of engineering. In the war the Pentagon expected to fight, the Ford would be a ghost. But the enemy is not playing that game anymore. The entire architecture of American naval defense was built on one assumption: the threat would come from radar. And so for decades, billions went into hiding from radar. Stealth coatings, angled hulls, suppressed exhausts, an entire industry built around a single fear. Nobody asked the harder question: what happens when the enemy stops using radar at all? What happens when the hunter throws away the flashlight and reaches for something darker? The flashlight in the forest. There's an old saying in electronic warfare: active radar is a flashlight in a dark forest. Yes, you can see, but everyone else sees you first. And in that forest, something is already moving toward the light. This is the trap the Navy built for itself. Every American destroyer, every cruiser, every carrier is screaming into the electromagnetic spectrum. Radars sweep, radios chatter, beacons pulse. Each signal is a fingerprint. Each fingerprint is unique. The Navy is screaming into the void. The enemy is holding its breath. A passive sensor transmits nothing. It listens. It sits in absolute silence and drinks in the noise the enemy is broadcasting. It hunts without hunting. It stalks without moving. It never gives itself away. By the time you realize it exists, the missile is already in the air. No alarm sounds in the Combat Information Center. No light blinks red on the bridge. The sailors keep working. The pilots keep training. The captain keeps his course. And somewhere over the horizon, a man with a cheap antenna is writing down their exact position. It gets worse. Because radio is only the first layer. The second layer is heat. Every ship at sea is a furnace. The reactors of a nuclear carrier burn hot. The exhaust stacks of escort destroyers belch fire into the sky. The flight deck radiates the warmth of fueled jets. Even the kitchens, the engine rooms, the laundry vents add to the glow. To a thermal sensor, an aircraft carrier is the brightest object on the entire ocean. You cannot hide it. You cannot mask it. Physics will not allow it. Infrared search and track sensors, IRST, they see that heat from hundreds of miles away. And the technology no longer lives in classified labs. It comes from the same supply chain that builds thermal scopes for hunting rifles and night vision for civilian drones. A few $1,000s buys a sensor that hunts a carrier strike group in the dark. It is silent. It is cheap. And it is deadly. The Navy spent 40 years hiding from radar. Nobody told the heat to look the other way. 1,000 eyes in the sky. Now layer in the drones. Not Predators, not Reapers, not million-dollar military platforms. Quadcopters, fixed wings, built in garages, ordered online, a few $100s each. They carry no bombs, no missiles. They carry cameras, stabilizers, data links, sometimes a relay antenna, nothing more. Their job is one job: find the ship, watch the ship, whisper its location to the men with the missiles. Here is where the math becomes a nightmare. To shoot down one drone, the Navy fires interceptors that cost $2 million. $2 million to kill a $500 drone. And even when you win that exchange, you lose. By the time the drone is gone, the data is gone too. The carrier's position is already burned into a targeting computer on shore. A swarm of 20 drones costs $10,000. Killing them all costs $40 million. The carrier still dies. The drones don't have to win. They only have to look. Once they have looked, the carrier has already lost. Every dollar the Navy spends shooting them down is a dollar bleeding from a wound that cannot be closed. A giant trapped in a hallway. Now bring all of this together. Drop it into the worst geography on Earth for an American carrier. The Strait of Hormuz, 21 miles wide at its throat. Iran on one side, Oman on the other. Roughly a fifth of the world's oil flows through it every single day. A coastline crawling with caves, cliffs, fishing villages, listening posts. There is no maneuver room. There is no horizon to vanish behind. A carrier transiting Hormuz is a giant trapped in a hallway. This is not a theory. This is the reality of the strait. It is a kill box, a bottleneck where physics matters more than budget, where geometry beats engineering, where every dollar of American technology runs into a wall built by geography. Iran does not need a navy. Iran has built something worse, a distributed sensor network, land-based listeners tucked into the rocks, drones launched from pickup trucks, fishing boats with thermal cameras, coastal radars that never transmit. Each node is cheap. Each node is expendable. Together, they form a live map of every American ship in the strait. And here's the part that should keep admirals awake at night. Years of captured equipment and reverse engineering have given Iran the electronic fingerprints of specific U.S. warships. They don't just know an American destroyer is in the strait. They know which destroyer. They know its radar profile, its radio habits, its electronic ghost. They have built a digital DNA library of the American fleet. When the missiles fly, they will not be guessing. They will be calling the ship by name. A hammer in a dark room. For years, American doctrine has been obsessed with temporal dominance. Find faster. Decide faster. Strike faster. 5-minute kill chains. Real-time fusion across every platform. The Pentagon spent a generation building the fastest sword on the planet. All of it assumes one thing. You can see. Blind the sensors first, and speed dies. Missiles die. Billion-dollar electronics die. The sword becomes a stick. The giant is left swinging a hammer in a pitch-black room, while a child with a flashlight walks circles around its knees. This is the checkmate the Navy has not solved. The era of the invincible carrier is not ending because somebody built a bigger ship. It is ending because somebody built a smaller eye. The end of certainty. Let me leave you with a thought. The Pentagon will tell you the Ford is the future, the most survivable carrier ever built. In the war they expected, that might even be true. But the war they are about to fight looks nothing like that. It is a war where a $500 thermal sensor on a hilltop in Bandar Abbas erases $13 billion of American steel. It is a war where the side with the cheaper eye wins, and the side with the louder radar dies. It is a war where every assumption built into the modern Navy was wrong. This is bigger than one ship. This is the end of certainty. The end of the idea that money buys safety. The end of the belief that the strongest army is the one with the biggest hammer. The end of an entire century of naval doctrine. Tonight, the Ford is still out there, sailing somewhere, glowing in the infrared, whispering its signature into the dark. And somewhere, in silence, somebody is listening. So I will leave you with this. In a world where the small see everything, what happens to the giant that has nowhere to hide?